Do you want to know what an essential factor for success is in every area of your life? It's self-discipline. Yes, self-discipline. Without self-discipline, success in the different areas of your life becomes extremely challenging. Learn what self-discipline is, why it is important, as well as why it becomes a challenge to practice, and how you can get started with it in this episode of the Growth Philosophy Podcast. Stay tuned to learn more. Hello everyone, this is Salik and welcome to another episode of the Growth Philosophy Podcast. A bite-sized weekly podcast focused on empowering you to think better and upgrade your life. And on that thread of upgrading your life, let's talk about self-discipline. So what is self-discipline? At its core, self-discipline is about exercising your willpower to make decisions that are in your best interest, even when those decisions or actions seem unpleasant or challenging. Let me repeat that for you. Self-discipline is about exercising your willpower to make decisions that are in your best interest, even when those decisions or actions seem unpleasant or challenging. So there are two main variables involved here: your willpower and decisions. Simply put, self-discipline is about using your willpower to make good decisions, and it involves managing your emotions to override temptations against following through. Like following through on an exercise regimen on days you're feeling tired or low or have no motivation. So self-discipline is what will help you carry on with the exercise regimen even when you feel tempted to skip. And it is easy to skip. You know that from personal experience. We have all done that from time to time. It is easy to skip on things that seem hard or unpleasant. It's much easier than it is to follow through on those things. Doing good things at the end of the day isn't always easy or fun. Like working out or stopping yourself from eating junk food. If it was easy, everyone in the world would be healthy, right? But unfortunately, that's just not the case. Because far too many people don't practice self-discipline. And it is unfortunate, because practicing it would have caused a lot more people to be healthier. So it's a key to success in most areas of life. And that brings me to the next point about self-discipline, as to why it is important. So why is self-discipline important? I mean, you should have a pretty good idea about it now, like why it is important. Well, let me clarify that for you. So self-discipline is important mainly because it is an essential aspect for success. And it's not just important for success at work and career, but success in every area of life. Let's face it, life throws us curveballs and things don't always go according to plan. Life just doesn't work that way. It's complicated, it's unpredictable. Things just happen. And self-discipline is one of the key traits that makes it possible to overcome such curveballs and challenges. So when life does throw you those curveballs, because it's not a matter of if, but simply a matter of when. So when the life throws you those curveballs, having self-discipline is what will help you to overcome those challenges. Self-discipline is about exercising your willpower to do things even when you don't feel like doing them, because ultimately it's in your best interest to do them. Self-discipline is about exercising your inner strength, your willpower to make decisions about what you will or will not do for your own good. This can be about making decisions to include healthy food in your diet that you're not a big fan of, but still eat because it's good for you. Or food you decide to avoid despite really liking and wanting it, because it's not good for you. Like junk food. So self-discipline can be about going for a walk or working out, because that's good for your health, and doing it even when you don't feel like doing it. So let's look at a demonstration of how self-discipline might actually look like in practice. So say for instance you decide to create a jogging habit and make a promise to yourself to do it every day no matter what. Maybe you decide to do this to deal with a rising blood pressure, or help with your cholesterol level, or something else, or just because you want to be healthier. So you make this commitment to yourself. And that's another key aspect of self-discipline, by the way. It's ultimately about making a promise to yourself and then following through on that promise, on that commitment, no matter what. Because, like I said, things will happen that will make it challenging for you to follow through on some days, to follow through on these good habits, on these good practices. And unless you use your willpower to do it anyway, unless you use your inner strength to follow it through despite the discomfort or the challenge or the stumbling block, it will be difficult to keep doing the thing. It will be difficult to keep your promise to yourself. And this means going for the jog even if it is raining outside, or even if it is cold, or even if you're feeling really lazy or down or tired or distressed. You do it because you made a commitment to yourself and because you know it's in your best interest and for your own good. So you follow through. And that following through is still self-discipline. You follow through not just because following through is in your best interest in the long term, but also to remind yourself that you are stronger than your circumstances, which you are. You do it to remind yourself that things won't always be ideal, but that will not stop you. Like you know already, life isn't a bed of roses. There will be speed bumps along the way, and the only way to keep your momentum is for you to stay strong and keep going. That's what makes self-discipline so essential for success in every area of your life. Because without it, you'll just give up. You won't keep going. So now you understand the importance, right? It's not as if you didn't already, but hopefully it clarifies for you the importance a bit more. So ultimately, self-discipline is about following through on things, on the small and the big commitments you make to yourself, or to others maybe, and do those things because they are in your best interest, right? It's in your best interest, and that's the key to remember. You're doing it not to appease someone else. You're doing it because it's in your best interest. So that makes it important for yourself, for your own life. And that's what is crucial to remember. So yes, jogging on a cold day might not be pleasant. It will be hard, but you do it because it's good for you, right? And you practice it by using your self-discipline. So it is also about using your inner strength as a reminder for yourself and everyone else that you are stronger than your circumstance, that you can deal with whatever life throws at you. And the more you practice your self-discipline, the better and stronger you will get. That actually makes it yet another reason why it's important for you to practice your self-discipline, because ultimately it makes you stronger. So self-discipline is useful. Not just that, it's actually essential, and it is really coveted, but it can be hard to practice. So here is the reality, right? No matter how much people know about the importance of self-discipline, most do not practice it. Certainly not as much as they should. There's a huge lack of self-discipline these days, clearly demonstrated by the huge rise in most of the avoidable health problems. People used to be more self-disciplined. Like, think about your grandparents' days. It's like they always had these routines that they just stuck with. They just followed through with things. They were just a lot more self-disciplined. It's like self-discipline there is a downward curve now. The trend has been going down on self-discipline, and this is not good. As a collective society, this is a really bad thing. It gives rise to lots of health problems, and it's just rising. So there is a huge lack of self-discipline these days, and that needs to be dealt with. So yes, we know self-discipline is a useful and important trait, but implementation of it can be challenging. But you know what? If it was easy, we wouldn't really need to talk about it today. Life isn't easy. Right? Let's face it isn't easy, and the good things take work. And that makes self-discipline worth the effort. So yes, it will take effort, but it is worth it. So now you have a solid foundation about self-discipline. You know what it is and why it is challenging to practice and why it is important. But just knowing about self-discipline alone won't have any beneficial impact on your life. Knowledge without action, after all, doesn't really help. It's useful to know, absolutely, but it is essential for you to have a game plan for you to actually benefit from the knowledge. So let's look into that part now. Let's look into the implementation. How can you get started with practicing self-discipline and benefit from it? Well, I have an easy exercise for you to get you up and running. An exercise for you involving 3 questions. Yes, just 3 simple questions. These 3 questions will help you take a step towards putting self-discipline to good use in your own life and can help you get started today. Not tomorrow, today. So try out these 3 questions, and here they are. In what one area of your life should you practice self-discipline? Answer this question right now. Just think about one area of your life. Pick one. It doesn't really need to be the most important area, just the one that comes to your mind right now. What one area of your life should you practice, or would you benefit from practicing self-discipline? Maybe it's your health, maybe it's your work, or maybe something else. Doesn't really matter. Just choose one. Now, here's a second question to answer. Why would you benefit from practicing self-discipline in that area of your life? So, in the first question, you would choose one area of your life, which I hope you have done by now, right? You have your one area of your life where you would benefit from practicing self-discipline. Now, in this second question, you define why it would benefit for you. Just expand on that. How can it be useful? How can it be helpful for you to practice self-discipline in that area of your life? You know the answers already, so just think about that, flesh them out. Expand on those answers. Bring that out from the depth of your minds. And once you've done that, here's the third question for you. How can you get started? So maybe in the first instance you thought about health being your one area of your life where you would where you would benefit from practicing self-discipline. And then in the second part you decided that it's important for you to be in good health. And that's your reason. Or maybe your reason was to lower your blood pressure or to improve your heart health or whatever. So in the second part you decided why. You defined why it would benefit you. And then in the third part, in the third question, you would decide on how you can get started. So maybe it would be to go for a run every morning. Or perhaps it would be to work out. Or maybe do 10 push-ups today, or 20 push-ups, or 50 push-ups today. I don't know. It's your plan. It's your game plan, so you can decide whatever it is. But I just want you to go through those 3 questions. So decide what one area of your life you can practice self-discipline, and you can try it, start on it today, and then figure out why it would benefit you. And in the third instance, come up with at least something you can do on a regular basis to practice self-discipline to help that area of your life. These 3 questions will get you thinking and coming up with ideas and help you get started with self-discipline today. And not just today, perhaps in the next 5 minutes, because it doesn't really take a long time to come up with ideas and come up with a game plan, and it doesn't even take a long time to follow through. So if you decided that yes, you want to start doing push-ups today, maybe you do 10 push-ups, you can do it within the next minute. You see my point? So the key is to figure out something that you can do, figure out why it will be useful for you, and then just follow through. And then follow through on a consistent basis every day, because that's where self-discipline will really come into practice. But this exercise is not all I will leave with you with today. I have an additional tip for you to make practicing self-discipline even easier. So you know what else really helps with self-discipline? Having a strong reason. The second question I mentioned, why? That's really useful and important to figure out. Let's use the jogging example again to demonstrate. So let's say you have a high blood pressure and decide that you will take up jogging to help with that. So that becomes your strong reason, your motivation. Like dealing with your high blood pressure. That becomes your motivation. So that becomes your why. Just knowing jogging is good for you is good, but it's not really good enough. It's pretty generic. And it's not really personal enough for you. So it doesn't become a strong enough reason for you to carry on with it. Whereas doing it in order to help with something that is causing you problems is a stronger reason. And you need a strong reason. Having a strong reason, a more personal motivation like that, makes it easier to stay the course and practice self-discipline. Do you remember that movie Rocky? And how he went for his morning jog every day, even on days when it was pouring down with rain, and mornings when it was freezing or he was bruised from fights the early day on. He had a strong reason for that. There were lots of reasons not to do it, but he followed through. And these were not just 5 or 10 minutes jogs either. He ran for miles. So that was pretty grueling. But he kept doing it anyway, despite how bad things were, how uncomfortable things were. Because he had a strong reason. His strong reason was that he wanted to be the best boxer. And he knew that staying in peak physical health was essential for that. And his morning jog was an essential part of being in peak health. So he followed through no matter what. He had a strong reason, and that made it easy to be self-disciplined even when things got challenging. I mean, that's a fictional character in a movie, true, but that is how things work in real life too. If you really want to be self-disciplined about something, find a strong reason to do it. That way it will be easy, or at least easier, for you to follow through even when things become challenging to follow through. There is yet another strategy that can make self-discipline easy for you, and that's having an accountability partner. I did a detailed talk about this not long ago, so you might want to check out. I'll include a link in the show notes for that episode. But here's the bottom line. It's not easy to be disciplined. Things get in the way, things crop up, stuff comes up that need your attention. Basically, life happens, and it can get messy. And then we get tired of the firefighting, and despite our best intentions, things fall through, and it just becomes challenging to follow through. But that's why self-discipline is so important. Yes, it is not easy to be disciplined, but without self-discipline, doing the things that are good for you, doing the things that are beneficial for you become challenging to do, or do on a consistent basis, day in and day out. The good news is, there are things you can do to make practicing self-discipline easy. Like the 3-question exercise I went over earlier, which can help you get started today. Creating routines and habits also help. Habits, let me say something about that. Habits are great. They can go a long way to make self-discipline really easy for you because they more or less automate that task or action. So that's really useful. And we all have habits, even those that we do not actively create and those that are not necessarily good for us. So actively creating habits is a great idea. The good habits, like meditating and working out daily, can help us take better care of ourselves. And in the long term, these habits and their outputs add up. But it's not just about these habits. There are lots of things that you can do to take better care of yourself. So, because self-care is important. And even though self-discipline can be challenging, it's important to put in the effort because the result will matter and it will make a difference. Self-discipline will make a difference in your life. So I highly recommend that you look into it and practice it. That 3-question exercise will help you get started today. I really hope you try it out. As for today's talk, I really hope you found it useful. If you have any questions, feel free to post them on my blog or reach out to me on Twitter. As always, it has been a pleasure to have you listen in. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast to get updated about new episodes. Also, check out the other episodes of the Growth Philosophy podcast for more resources on helping you to improve your mind and your life. I'll catch you again next Monday. Until then, have a great week, and remember, think better to upgrade your life.